in, and I'll start chatting as soon as my phone thinks that we started streaming. Hopefully, that'll be only a couple of minutes, but I don't think there's any point starting until anyone's turned up, so that's quite cool. Right, lovely. Okay. There's my notification, so let's get started. Hey, good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. We are streaming today Test Kitchen and Terraform. And so we'll be using the Terraform Test Kitchen driver to test some AWS infrastructure. In this case, it's going to be just some user accounts with a couple of groups. And we'll just test those with Inspec because Inspec's got a nice AWS pack, which is pretty cool. I'm going to go through that one at a time. Cool. Okay. I think we could just get started. Let me just bring up mine. So what is Test Kitchen? It's a life cycle management tool for testing. Doesn't matter what the driver is here. So it could be Vagrant, it could be Test Kitchen, it could be Docker, and there's some sort of provisioner. In this case, it's going to be Terraform again, and then there's some sort of testing tool which we're going to be using Inspec. You could use Bats or something else that is supported by Test Kitchen. And then once it's all finalized and it's all tested, it then just destroys it. So it's sort of the full life cycle, which is quite nice. Here's got drivers, provisions, platforms. We're just going to use the AWS platform with the AWS platform. And we can have multiple suites. So you could say have like a set of user tests or some Terraform or a Terraform module that creates some users, and another one that creates a different set of users. We could have a different sort of configurations there, which is quite nice. The driver in question is the new context OSS Kitchen Terraform one, or you could just call it Kitchen Terraform like I do. Maybe just drop that in the chat. If you're wondering what we're looking at, there's a link in the. There's a link there. We are joined by Kaya. Brilliant. I'll demist her in a second. She's currently just plug it in. It's an interesting week for all of us because we're some of us are in Boston, some of us are still in the UK. So let me just. I'll start again in a second. There's no huge rush to this. Let me just maximize Kaya. Hey.
Hey. I can't hear anything.
There we go.
Hold on.
It's going to be one of those days where all the audio's wrong because they're not in the places we normally stream from, right?
Right, exactly. Hey, everybody.
I'm assuming the office is pretty good.
Yeah, the office is not half bad. Let me change my name so I don't have, because there is only one band.
So what happens with the tool we use, whoever starts first ends up being in the top position, and then second one down. Occasionally, me and Kaya switch. So if I come on first, then I'm Kaya occasionally, and then Kaya is no.
Yep.
Kaya is now Kaya.
Exactly.
So I came on earlier on, and I was down. I was Kaya. I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
No.
So let's just go through what we did go today, which is Test Kitchen Terraform, using Test Kitchen to manage the life cycles and test a Terraform module. I'm just initially going over this one. So what Test Kitchen was. So have you used There. Have you used Test Kitchen before?
So I like on a tutorial, yes.
Cool. Okay.
I'm
We'll see
pretty
some more of
familiar.
this today, I guess. That's hopefully quite helpful. So drivers kind of thing that makes stuff happen, creates infrastructure, creates a virtual machine, that kind of stuff. So normally it'd be Vagrant. The default driver is Vagrant for Test Kitchen, so it's free virtualization tool or manager.
Right.
Provisioner by default, it's Chef 0 or Chef Infra. Spoilers. Spoiling Tim's surprise there. And there's some platforms here. Today we're not going to worry about platforms. We're not going to worry about provisioners because they're all going to be Test Kitchen. Sorry, they're all going to be Terraform. And for suites, we're just going to have like a default suite or an AWS suite. But that doesn't mean we can't test in multiple clouds, which is quite cool. And Test Kitchen will do the whole create, converge, setup, verify, and destroy. So this is the life cycle of Test Kitchen. So you create whatever you're going to do, then you converge it with the Terraform driver. Those two are actually the same thing, I believe, and maybe even setup might even be the same thing. Basically, go away and create me some stuff. Then we verify it. Once we verify it, we're going to use inspect today because I freaking love inspect, if anyone's noticed. And then if the test passes, we'll just destroy it. And if you just run kitchen test, it will do all of that for us. The driver in question is this one here. At the bottom, I whacked in the chat, which is nice. It's pretty simple. The installation is a little bit tricky. Let me make this a little bit bigger for us. The installations can be a bit tricky. I wouldn't recommend. So I've got Chef Workstation on my machine, so it's bundled with Test Kitchen and a bunch of other kitchen drivers. What you really want to do with Test Kitchen, with the Terraform driver, is have its own separate environment completely, because sometimes the Kitchen Terraform driver doesn't support the latest version of Kitchen. Thankfully, it does at the moment, which is really, really nice. And sometimes it'll interact with other drivers or gems that we've got installed on the system that come with Workstation. So Chef Workstation is kind of like a almost a whole kitchen sink, but we don't include Kitchen Terraform as a driver. I could probably go and find the list somewhere. There's a nice big long list. So some drivers don't, they interact because reasons basically. But thankfully, they do now support as of version 6, which was released the 8th of July, which is 2 months ago now, which is pretty nice. So they're pretty quick getting Ruby 3 support and Test Kitchen 3 support, which is really nice. There's a bunch of really nice little fixes in Test Kitchen 3. And by lots of little fixes, I probably mean like hundreds of like tiny little fixes here, there, and everywhere. But nothing that's like massively user impacting. But at some point, you're just like, well, we haven't released this for a while. Gonna get to a big release. So we did 3.0 release. Hence, we've got a 6.0 release of the driver here. And I'll show what we've got. So to get a separate environment, we use Bundler for Ruby. And let me see if we can find the instructions. We just say Kitchen Terraform, and then we could pin the versions and that kind of stuff. I'm not pinning the versions because I want the latest version, and then I'll let the bundler of Ruby gems figure out which versions that are all compatible with each other. I'll demonstrate that in a second, and then once you've got your gem file set up, you just do bundle install, and it installs into a local cache base. It's really nice. You end up with your gem file.lock, and then you just do we don't need that, so that's fine. And here's interesting. So I haven't put this before. I'll come back to this in a second with the verifies, provisions, that kind of stuff. And hopefully there's a little. So in here we've got setup guides. I'll do a little bit of setup myself, But I'm using AWS Vault, which is here by 99 Design to store all my key pairs, my AWS key pairs in, which is really nice. It's just a CLI tool. I just do brew install AWS Vault, and then I add my keys and that kind of stuff, my credentials that way, and my profiles using Vault, which is nice. And so you'll see me type in AWS Vault, then my profile name, and then exec. In a second. So that's why I'm doing that, to help me store my key credentials. I'll explain that probably better in a second. I'm just going to skimp over most of the stuff right now. But basically, the setup, needs Terraform files, your gem files here, and then bundle install, set up our test kitchen. So keep going down, and then let's see. I don't think they haven't mentioned here. They haven't mentioned the AWS credentials, which are kind of pretty crucial to connecting to AWS resources. So they're presuming that you've got a default key installed here, which is fine. I don't have a default set, just in case I, by accident, defaultly install like a new Elasticsearch cluster somewhere. I can't do that by accident because that's really expensive. Cool. I'm just going to go out there. And then, so this is the module we'll be testing today. As you see, I was playing around with this 3 hours ago, and all of my tests failed. Yeah, whatever, it's fine. I say tests, there's just linting, but it's fine. And what we're testing is, I've got a main file here, which just has a list of users, administrators, and then I've got alias IAM user, IAM group, group membership. So we've got the users group, the administrators group, and then group membership. So for every list, so all of the users in the users array that we pass in, of users variable we pass in, add them to the users group, and then same thing for the administrators. So what we should ideally see is we've got 2 arrays here. Me, Bob, and I think Mary, maybe, but all users, but only one of us is an administrator. And we can test this using test these IAM permissions later on, using inspec, which is quite cool. I think, did I? Yeah. There's no pull request open. That's weird. Bit of weird caching on GitHub side there, but it's fine. And we might go through this today. We'll probably go through this at some point again in a second. This is my sort of demo app to demonstrate the differences between Test Kitchen and TerraTest. TerraTest is really nice and quite fast, but as you'll see here, I'm going to skimp over this really briefly. It's not the most descriptive, which is not great if you're not used to testing, or you're not a tester of any sorts, and you're not used to writing Go. So this is all written in Go here, as is Terraform. So if you're in the Terraform land and you're used to writing Go, then maybe TerraTest is the way you want to go. I prefer the things that inspec can do around describing why a test is there, and you'll see me do that in a second. And I found that time and time again really, really useful, because I put in like a test for, I think it was RStudio a few months ago, and then I said this user has to be this, like this, or this environment has to be there. Like, why does this have to be there? And you can put a full description of like why it has to be there, which is really, really helpful. Which is pretty nice. And I'd highly recommend, if you've got an odd test that will look weird to you in 2 weeks' time when you've forgotten why you've written the code or the test, then write a big description. You can't do this with TerraTest. It is fast, it's slick, it's a really nice tool, but you can't do all of the context stuff like you can do with inspec. So here's our So there were 4 lines in TerraTest there. After all the setup stuff is done, which is pretty smart in itself. Here we've got 2 tests here. So kind of 4 tests really. So the users group should exist, the administrators group should exist, and the users list should include dweb, save myself, and the administrators group should not include Bob C. I don't know who Bob C is. I'm picking on Bob C today, but you're not administrator Bob, you're not allowed in, so you can't do it. Let's just come back out of here, and then I think apart from that, I could probably just really quickly mention a bit of inspec. And I think today's demo is going to be super, super quick. So I'm probably going to pause for a breath in a second. And then I'm going to jump into the actual demo. So yeah, so inspec AWS talks through AWS credentials, all this kind of stuff here, which is really nice. Assuming IAM roles, permissions, that kind of stuff. And then if I come back up here, we have a huge list. Hang on, where's the huge list gone? No, come down, and there's a huge list of all the resources that we've got available here. So ALBs, ALB and ALBs, AMIs and AMIs, that kind of stuff. So you can test groups of things, which is really, really nice. Let me just see what's in the ALB resource. Oh, yeah, so we can test, rather than just testing a single ALB, we can test a collection of ALBs there. And the names, the addresses, all this kind of stuff. So it's pretty handy, pretty nice. Yeah, and it's the usual matches stuff, which is nice. So it's kind of, as you'll see there, that like getting resource names is a very AWS specific ARN thing. So Amazon resource name, is it name or notation? Can't remember now. It'll come back to me at some point, I'm sure. And then kind of inspect sort of nice wrapper around, making it look good. I'm going to stop sharing that a second. I think that was a whirlwind tour of Test Kitchen and Terraform. Have you got any questions before I start on my rampage of creating resources?
I currently don't have any. Let's see if we have any in the chat.
Okay.
Doesn't look like it. So take it away, Dan, with the
cool
demo.
Let me just testing it before I redo this in a second, because it's always fun. But it's let me just reshare my screen. So yeah, as I said earlier on, it's going to be a quite quick one today. I'm going to just turn on some background music because I can. Let me just see if I can make all of this bigger. Right, so as we said earlier on, we are using Kitchen Terraform, Kitchen Inspect, and Test Kitchen. Kitchen Terraform actually requires both of these two, so I could just get rid of this. I've been explicit, so I can then play with like requiring different versions of Inspect, different versions of Test Kitchen, and different versions of of Kitchen Terraform. So that's why I've had those in the past, because I've been version pinning them for various reasons. So sometimes the Kitchen Terraform driver doesn't support the latest version of Terraform. So when Terraform comes out, there's usually a little bit of lag, a couple of weeks or maybe a month before they sort of get time to work on their free project. So I'm sort of eternally grateful for these people in the community who do these kinds of things. But you do bear in mind that you will have to pin and not use the latest version every single time. But it's fine. It's by the by. And then you'll get a gemfile.lock. So when you're in a bundle, so just to do this, do bundle install here, and then it'll go away, do its thing. Thank you very much. Because I've got the bundle.lock, it said 3 gemfile dependencies. Those are the 3 I've dumped in the gemfile there. And it's got 200 gems because we've got some nice splitting out of the train. So the train is sort of our ecosystem's way of getting content or getting things or communicating with remote instances usually. I say remote instances, I'm going to use bunny in that one because you can still use the train can actually still talk to the local instance as well if you want to. So where else we got? So we've got some TTY stuff, whatever. There's some Azure stuff in there. Ooh, I don't know why that's in there. I'm sure that's important. And then the AWS SDK, because we're using AWS, there's a ton of, and that'll probably be like most of our installed stuff there will be SDK stuff. Amazon, I really like the fact they split their SDKs out. So if you were just playing with API Gateway, you would get API Gateway and I think Core, but you wouldn't need application autoscaling because that's got nothing to do with API Gateway. And then we don't need any of these other things. So yeah, just gonna skip past the rest of that. Let's switch to our kitchen YAML. And so all of this is available up on my GitHub, which I will drop in the chat. Where are we? There we are. Lovely. It's just Terraform AWS user setup. So it might even be published to the Terraform module repo, the registry, which is quite cool. But here we do sort of driver, and the root module directory is, so the root module directory says, hey, where is my code that I'm going to run? Test fixtures modules test. It could be in the current existing, it could be in the existing folder. For reasons that I will explain in a second, I like to have a test folder that then calls my code. It's really good if you're using modules. So if you're using a Terraform module that does, sort of encapsulates a bunch of Terraform logic, that's the way to do it. This root level module here is root level directory is a module in itself, basically. So that's why I'm wrapping it. And let's see that. So where we've got fixtures, modules test. Here's a test module. So all this is to say, hey, go and source our module from here. This could be the Terraform registry as well. The users list is this big, and the administrators list is this big. And this is just an input into, this is an array of strings into administrators. And we're going to use the AWS provider with our region there. And you know what, I'm just going to do this because I'm never changing this region because I'm in the US one. So I'm going to hard code that sucker in because why not? So I'm half expecting a kitchen fitter to turn up halfway through me talking. So, kitchen fitter. Did I say kitchen fitter? I meant carpet fitter. Whatever. So, someone's going to turn up in a minute. But like, hey Dan, can we go and fix something for you?
Cool.
Fingers crossed. I mean, I'm hoping so anyway.
Remodeling.
I feel like
it's all over.
Say it, sorry.
So you're gonna have a whole new house by the time it's all over.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I think we're keeping the walls at this point. The walls and some of the floors, the downstairs floors. Actually, that's a lie. We just had the kitchen ripped up, so no, the kitchen floor's been changed. So yeah, there is nothing sacred or yeah, there's nothing staying in the house. So yeah, I've got our users control here. So I quite like to wrap group my controls together. So, and you'll see this in the output and why this is helpful. I personally really like impact, title, and description. So titles are short description and description is the long description, basically. So verify the users that groups contain the correct users. I.e., in my case, I don't want Bob to be an administrator. This, hopefully, this should read quite well. Some other test tools are a little bit, and this is the wonderful thing about Test Kitchen being written in Ruby, really, is this is quite easily readable by most people, even if you're not a programmer who knows Ruby. That's what it's designed for at the end of the day. Inspect, the inspect YAML. This is here, so we can go pull the AWS pack in. Bet you that's an old pack. No, bet inspect AWS 110. We are at 159. Let's change that. And that's how we manage the packs that are coming in, the resource packs from elsewhere, which is nice. This separation of AWS resources, the AWS resources used to be baked into InSpec. I really like. Initially, I was like, "Oh, why did we split them out? It's super frustrating." Now I've got to put this extra line that depends on the InSpec AWS pack. Well, this means that the AWS resources can be released at a different cadence of InSpec, or you can just continue using the same version of InSpec and bring in the new versions of the resource packs without having to alter how your version of InSpec works there. So you may have verified that your version of InSpec or the version of InSpec that you've installed is valid everywhere, but you want to update the resources that you can talk to. Well, those two are different things. There are different problems there. The way the resources are tested, the way that InSpec communicates are two very different things. So we split those out, which is quite nice. So yeah, I haven't got to update. Basically, TLDR, I haven't got to upgrade InSpec to upgrade to get new AWS resources, which is super sweet. And I think I might just do so AWS Vault. I'm just gonna auto correct or auto fill this in. So AWS Vault exec, and then my user, my profile name here, and my AWS profile. So AWS Vault. So AWS Vault is manager of credentials, so it pulls it out of its keychain. In this case, it's macOS's keychain, which is really nice. And we're saying we're going to execute a command using the 782.112 profile. 782.112 is a very old username I had from like 10-15 years ago. It means nothing to anybody else, but it's my username. I like to keep it. Then we do dash dash, and then that means that everything after the dash dash is run in a shell, which is really nice. And then we do bundle exec kitchen test. So we're running bundle exec here because, again, we need to run the kitchen test or the kitchen command with the bundler. So bundler knows how to where all the binaries for everything are because it installed them in the correct places. There's a way around this with bin stubs, but I never have it set up correctly, so I always just say bundle exec, and I know that the times when I don't have the bin stubs set up correctly, it will just continue working. So this is the longhand version of this, basically. And then we do kitchen test, so it'll do the whole life cycle for us here. And hopefully, I've got a little pop-up there that asks me for my keychain password, or the keychain password for my Vault there. And whilst it's doing this, I'm going to figure out what was on my phone. So. So we start up Test Kitchen 3.0. So this is really nice. So Terraform knows I'm just going to be using Test Kitchen 3. Using Terraform 105. I know that it's 105 because I'm using TF switch. Yet another little command line tool that tells me which version of Terraform I'm going to use this time. So I'm using 105. That's why it's 105 there, which is the latest version anyway. Then we're using the AWS provider, so it's fine. Initializing modules. If we had any modules that we required, that would pull us in. The backend, so if you're using the S3 backend, it will initialize that too. It's all kind of pretty standard AWS stuff here. Sorry, AWS Terraform and AWS stuff. Initializes it correctly. Thanks very much. The Terraform driver is really, really nice in the fact that it creates a Terraform workspace for the test. So you could be working away, doing Terraform apply, Terraform create, destroy, all that kind of stuff. And then you want to do a test. Well, so how do you do tests? If how do you isolate that state? Isolate all the resources as much as possible. This is where the workspaces come in and help with it. So you could namespace all of your resources with workspace names. In this case, the workspace is Kitchen Terraform default AWS. That's come from suites. So it's a default suite, and it's the platform name. That's where that's come from. So that's a amalgamation, much like if you're using Vagrant. There are amalgamations of names all over the place, which is quite cool. If it detects that there are things in the workspace already, so you've done a kitchen create or converge before, it will, and you do a kitchen test, it will say, hey, you've got these resources, I'm going to just destroy them for you. So I found them, it finds them in the state. Okay, hopefully. That's verification. So the driver here makes sure that you're running a supported version of Test Kitchen, and Test Kitchen 8 supported version of that. Right, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to run because it's about 2 minutes away. The IAM group administrators created, and the users created, and the group memberships are done. So I'm in the administrators, and me and Bob are both in the users group, and then we create the users. I don't know why we're creating the users after the group memberships, but it works apparently.
It works.
And then we verify them all. So this is the control group here, and then we've got 4 tests. So we expect the users to exist. IAM group users. I'm not sure why it's worded that way. I bet you I've made a typo somewhere. So we expect the users group to include me. Administrators exists, and we don't include Bob. And then we destroy everything. So here we're destroying this, blah, 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 and that's basically it. So I'm going to take a break for 5 minutes. I'm going to probably leave the wonderful rock music. It's not rock or metal at all. Playing, and I'm going to let this carpet fitter in, and I will be back in probably 5 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, are we gonna go? Are you doing more demos after this, or?
I think we could probably go. I could probably do a bit of a demonstration of the differences between TerraTest and Test Kitchen a little bit more, or cool. TerraTest and Inspec. But I'm going to run before he's here and try and get in a gate that is currently probably locked. So yeah, back in 5.
Sounds good. So everyone, hello. If you have not already signed up for ChefConf, please do so. With a lot of great talks that you don't want to miss. That is chef.io/chefconf. Let me see if I can. Yep. Here we go, right here. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter @chef. And if you have any questions about what Dan's going over, Terraform and Test Kitchen specifically, you can put them in the chat. Or if you have questions after this, please find us on Chef Community Slack. We're in the following channels. We are in Community, General. You can DM us. I am at Kaya on Community Slack, and Dan is at Damicus on Community Slack. So feel free to hit us up. Ask any questions that you have.
There we go. Right. Hello again. Did we lose everybody? I think we lost a few people there.
Yeah, we've got one person still looking.
Ah, bro.
I went and cut into our shameless plugs about Chef Conf, and
Oh, too right.
yeah,
I did not plug at the start. My intro game was lacking there. Yeah, so I guess I could quickly go over. Who's left on the stream? Who's left over at Twitch? One sec. There we go. Try again. What was I trying to say? I'll go over the difference between Terra test and inspect. So we saw that. That was Test Kitchen there doing its thing. I swear I will get to the end of this segment if it's the last thing I do today.
all good.
It's just going to be one of those things. It's just like, yeah, I think I'm pretty happy now. It's all good. It's all good. And then something else happens. It's fine. So Terra test is, it's written by, who is it written by? I cannot remember now. Gruntwork. So Gruntwork are a open source sort of consultancy company who do lots of Terraform stuff. They've got a huge amount of expertise in the Terraform area, and they're really, really Terraform focused. So they write lots of Go, and that's where their expertise is. So it'd be no surprise that their testing framework is written in Go as well, which is nice. So, but yeah, I haven't done the Go install stuff. It's fine. So here we just use the test package, then we import testing, and then this is all the grunt work stuff. So we require AWS and Terraform. So if we're going to use Azure, we would do Azure and Terraform, and then Testify to do some really nice. It makes it a little bit easier to test and Go. Go's standard testing library is a little bit bare bones, I think, but that's okay because there's a ton of really nice frameworks and libraries around to help out. So it's no different to Ruby or any other language. So I don't want to sound like I'm trying to like dig on Go here. It is what it is, but there's some really nice sort of additions, which is pretty cool. Our Terraform directory, it's our current directory, or in fact we're in test at the moment, so it's the one above us. And then our default region is going to be either US East or West. Well, why am I hearing beeps? Doesn't matter. It's fine. So this is really nice. So you could do. So Test Kitchen has a specific create, compile, converge phase, or there are 5 specific phases in Terraform. Terra test, you get to design your own sort of workflow here. So we're going to defer, destroy until right at the end, and then we're going to do an init and apply. With Terraform, notice these are just we're just calling Terraform things underneath the hood here, and that's really nice because we're just calling the Terraform binaries, the Terraform libraries directly, which is super nice. Haven't got to worry about any of these other things. Unless if you use as a list of groups. Let's just make this a bit shorter. And then, do I have this? Right. So to make this work, and at least so when I wrote this was the case. So take what I'm going to say with a pinch of salt in a second, because this may now be different. TerraTest, at the very least, used to work on requiring Terraform outputs. Terraform outputs are really helpful, but are not, you're not guaranteeing really, or there's a bit of indirection there that you're not testing the actual AWS resource itself. So you could create an ALB, and it has a bunch of default options. Are these default options still default, for example? Or we would actually have to pull all of these attributes and make them a Terraform output, which you could do. But for me, it's extra wiring in that I don't really like doing. So the users group, say, just find the outputs. So we've got IAM group users, IAM group administrators, and memberships and that kind of stuff. So that all of those outputs there are specifically for this user test stuff here, which is fine. But you'll see it's like extra stuff that you probably don't want to be outputting to the command line, and that's how you get TerraTest to work there. And then we're going to require the length of users back from our test to be so the length of users has got to be 2, the administrator's got to be 1, and then the users array that we've populated using this output list here should contain Bob. The administrators list should not contain Bob C. I mean, this is fine. This does work, but I don't know if you're agreeing here. I know you've done a bunch of like you've done a bunch of programming in the past, but I don't think this is particularly user friendly. But it works. So
okay, I mean, it's not as readable as other things, but yeah, it does the job.
It does the job. It definitely does the job. And I think that's probably the case here. It's like all of this works and it's super quick. And if you're writing Go all the time, then maybe this is probably the answer for you. But if you're doing other things from writing Go and you don't want to be reading Go all the time, then this is actually this is like having to pass T around all over the place, like so it's parallelized. It's just nasty. Whereas comparing this to our verified groups control, okay, so I did mention like wiring it up. This is all of TerraTest. This is all of TerraTest basically, which is quite nice. It's all in one file, but here you've got this, you put your tests and your test harness set up, and the fact that you're going to parallelize it, and the fact that you're going to have your region config here,
right?
Which has has two things. So it either looks awesome in the fact that you've got it all in one place and you can look at it in one place, and that's really nice, or, which is my preference, you've got multiple concerns in one file here. I really don't like that.
Right. It's not really like the separation, like good practice from separation of concerns perspective. But
yeah,
I mean, if at a glance you want to just know everything, that's
right.
It's really good. Yeah.
But then when you've got like 100 tests, and then like the tests are at the bottom of the file, but actually so most of this file, so let's just say all of this, that's got nothing to do with tests really.
Okay.
So those aren't really tests. Those aren't tests. Those are populating data for the tests. There's 4 lines here.
Oh.
That's
this is
the
actual test.
Yeah. So there's 4 tests here. So,
okay.
So checking the length of the users array, checking the length of the administrators array, checking the users array contains Bob, and then the administrators doesn't contain Bob. So it's you are being attacked by Skype, it would sound like. But
I don't know if you call me on Teams. But
Oh, Teams.
Yeah.
It sounded a whole lot like Skype. I would do this, but I have forgotten to. I wonder if I can remember how to do this. Do I have my GoMod file? No, my GoMod file is not. So I'll probably do this for next time, maybe, but. Or maybe someone from Terratest could come on and say, hey, Dan, you're using this completely wrong, and we've updated everything and it looks awesome now. And that would be cool. If someone from Terratest could come up and like, actually, this is how we use Terratest these days. Because I haven't used this in probably a year, probably. So and that's ancient. But this is how it was a year ago. And it does kind of look nice. I need to figure out my Go mods and that kind of stuff, which is fine. I could probably go for it another time. But that's one of the alternative, and one of the many alternative ways of testing AWS resources and managing the whole life cycle there. But I think that's pretty much all I've got for today. I might well go over a little bit more if anyone's got any questions. So like fire away. And then I think what I'll do is next Tuesday, if you've got any questions, we'll do some demos on the. If you've got any interesting questions, I'll do a demo on Test Kitchen and the Terraform Driver if you've got any of those questions there.
Nice.
But yeah, I'll give you 5 minutes to think of anything gnarly, and then probably just going to call it a day on the stream for now, anyway.
Sweet.
But yeah, it seems pretty nice. I mean, what I found the Terraform driver is, if you're just testing modules and making sure the module works, that's lovely. So the VPC driver, the VPC module, like it does a lot of stuff. There's a lot of logic going on, and it's a bit gnarly.
Is there another language that you can use with Terraform and Test Kitchen, or is it only Go?
Oh, so the Go was Terratest, which is completely separate from Test Kitchen.
Okay.
And that's kind of like probably the competitor to using the Terraform driver that I've come across. If anyone knows of another one, I'll love to see that, because it's always nice to see other, I don't want to say competitors, but other players in this space, because there's a reason to use both of those, and it's mostly preferences.
Sweet.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a super dry throat now. Super dry. Yeah. How's the weather in Boston?
Raining. It is. I'm not sure if, you can't tell based on my background, but it is coming down out there.
Man.
But it's okay. This has been the only rainy day. It's not as hot or anywhere near as hot as it was in Charlotte, so I'm happy about that. For sure.
I mean, if we get any sun again this year, I'll let you know. But I mean, just
wow.
Yeah, we've had our 2 weeks. It's all good.
The 2 weeks of sun.
It's usually 2.
But you're welcome.
But yeah, you've got your lot. I go home.
Now go.
Right.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Likewise, so if anyone's there still, and you're not in the community Slack, join us in the community Slack, and we'll take some questions there. If you've got any suggestions on future streams that you've got some questions about, using bats, and thank you for the slick movement there. Hands through, it's beautiful. Yeah, it was so smooth, it just put me off.
Oh, look, sorry to take you off of your.
That was good. I was like, what? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you're in the Chef Community Slack, as Kaya just pointed out just below, there we go. Bam.
real slick like.
Then I'm usually in the sous chef room because I've been in there for absolutely years. I will leave at one point. I know it's not going to happen. We're in the DevRel room. If you've got any questions about anything that we do and you want to give some feedback, we'll have a bit of feedback. We had a feedback a couple of weeks ago, and there's some really interesting discussions we've had are based off the back of those discussions. Things like policy files and whether we're doing things right, whether we're doing things wrong, or just how we interact, that kind of stuff. Because we haven't been doing this that long, and usually, like, we've been doing it for how long? It's 2 months, I think it is.
Yeah, this is like our second month. Yep.
Yeah, it feels longer maybe, but I don't even know. But it's cool. It's cool. We kind of, what we're trying to do slowly is work through the back catalogue of like interesting use cases we've got with Chef and link those into some of our current campaigns. So you'll probably see me mention Chef DK again, or long live Workstation, goodbye Chef DK at some point, because Chef DK has been deprecated. People are still using it, and I want to know why. So,
oh yeah, that's a good question. Leave it in the chat or put it in community Slack. We want to hear why you're still using Chef DK.
And right, if you don't realize that Chef DK and Workstation are the same thing, that Workstation is just a kind of a rebranded and new version with a couple of things stripped out, then like that's where we can come in and help and sort of demonstrate that actually it's like the migration process is super simple, and you get a whole new host of tools, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, right.
Cool.
I think we're gonna leave it there.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, everybody, and I will catch you next Tuesday. Do you want to do next Tuesday on the hour or on the half hour?
Let's do on the half.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Sounds good.
So that'll be what, half 2 my time, it's a UK time, and that'll be half
9:30 Eastern,
cool.
And 7:30 Pacific. Ooh,
that's nasty.
Right.
But we had people turn up last week, which is pretty sweet.
No, actually it was 6:30 Pacific. I'm sorry. 6:30.
Hang on.
Yeah, because we're 3 hours ahead.
2.
So if you want to...
Oh, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, that's dedication. But if you want to be up early, Pacific time, go ahead.
I mean, to be fair, I was up at 6 this morning, so yeah, it's all fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have a good one, and if we don't see you, have a great weekend.